Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. In our today's video, we're going to create this amazing e-commerce website using Next.js, Sanity CMS, Clerk, Authentication Management, and so many other latest features. So this is our homepage for our application layer, and at the top we have our header where we are entitled to logo, and then we have the search bar, then also the card icon and the account section. So till now we didn't logged in, so it's just showcasing the logged in. Now in that banner, which is fully carousel, you can just toggle through and you can see all the latest details here for the new year, if offer and discount rate, and the code also available. Then we have section on the product topper as that the filter by category. If you click on spices, it will filter the data and it will serve you only the spices related product, and that product is coming directly from here. We are managing our product category, order and sale directly from here. So now if we click any of the product, it will automatically redirect to us to our in the single product details. So as you see, now in that details, we are having the image, title, reviews, price, in stock section, and how many people are viewing, and also add to cart. We can add to cart from here, and this card management, the store management, we are gonna do using a Zustand. As you see from here, we can add to cart, increase the quantity, decrease the quantity, and at the last product, it will automatically just delete that because that's the last quantity. So now also if we click on the card, now it will redirect to us to the card page, but as you see we are not signed in, so that we cannot be able to view anything. Log in to view your card items and check out. Don't miss out on your favorite products. So now if we roll back to our Clerk here, we can see how many users is logged in, so we can manage the user from here. We can create a new user, and whenever any user logged in, the data it will reflect here. So let's try to log in. So I'll click on sign in, continue with Google, and right now I'll just log in with this account, and after logged in it will automatically redirect to us to our home page. And from here now, as you see in the card, we have one item, so we can increase more quantity, we can delete the product manually one, and also we can reset our entire card. As you see, your card is empty, looks like you haven't added anything to your card yet. Explore our products and find something you have. All the message, all the product scenario, I was trying to make it as relevant as possible. And now previously, if you see, there is one more tab is here which called orders. Means if you are not logged in that tab, it will not show. Also, if you click on the image, you can like manage your account, you can upload the image, you can add the details and each and everything. It will be perfectly aligned here. And then if you click on orders, you should be able to view the orders, and in the order, as you see, click to see order details. If you click on here, you can see the order details available here. So the customer name, email, date, status, and all other details is directly here, which you are fetching from the Sanity. Now let's go and create one more payment just to see how the things going to be done. If we click okay, so now we are having to have our product. Now before going to the checkout, as you see, once our checkout is done, we are removing the product from card, as we are directly injecting that data over here in our order tab. So whenever any new order is coming, it's injecting right here. So what I'm gonna do, first thing first, there is an order, I think this order I'm gonna remove, and then I'm gonna try to make order from this account, because so that we'll also view the details which the orders is not available. If we okay, delete the product, okay, cool, it's deleting, and let's go here, and I'm gonna log out from this account, and then I'm gonna sign in with a different account. Okay, logged in, and it will be this account. Okay, right now if we view here, as you see, no orders found. It looks like you haven't placed any orders yet. Start shopping to see your orders here. So now let's browse some products. As already added some in the cart, we'll go back to the cart, and right now So there is one things need to be implemented. As you see, we have the order summary where we have the subtotal to the 7.14 with the discount, and after discount applied we are getting only 201.00. In our Stripe the previous one 61.50. So let's roll back to create one payment, and here as you see only 2 orders available, so there should be 3 orders after we submit it. And one more things also need to be started while we are doing that payment authentication is that the webhook. And why we need the webhook? Because when the Stripe is accessing the order details, like whenever we are click on the proceed, there is some instances where Stripe is taking the actions. So we need to check all of the instances. Once our payment is done, completed, only then we are going to redirect our orders to the Sanity and also remove the card and all the things we are going to do it in API. So that will be as simply done. So what we need to do is that we need to let Stripe to listen. So if I just make Stripe version, you need to install. I'm going to show you how you can install and how you can configure each and everything. I'm going to go in depth details. That build, it will not be like a quick fix and go. No, I'm going to explain each and everything. So don't worry if there is a 2-3 part. Stay with that. It will be a super cool if you are going to learn how to work with that any of that e-commerce website, even it's the monistic or full stack or super full stack. So this build is for you. I'm trying to explain each and everything, so keep patient, go with me slowly. After finishing that build, you will be able to create a fully functional e-commerce website. Both will be available for the backend structure as well as with the front-end structure. And as you can see, the design is super cool, and both for the responsive. As you see in the order details, if you just roll back, as you see now, it's taking at the bottom. You can now also scrolling to the products, and this is tick at the bottom. So all the design, it will be fully responsive, and we're gonna create it from the beginning. So let's say Stripe, we just make with a listen flag. With that flag, Stripe can listen our port. So I'm gonna forward to that port 2, which will be localhost just 3000 and /API/webhook. So our webhook gonna listen to our API directory there where the webhook things is running. As you see, the secret is here, which is the webhook secret. Now it's running directly. So let's click to go with a proceed to checkout, which will be 201. Now we are in this Stripe page. It's directing to us the email, which the email we are providing, the user email is grabbing from there. Now we need to provide the name of that any of the dummy customer card, and we are good to go. So let's also card name and pay. Also there is one promotion code. We're gonna use it in the next one. So now as you see, all the instances I can access: charge succeeded, payment intent succeed, payment intent created, checkout session completed, charge updated. So that's the instance which you are handling. After happening that, only we know our payment is done. After that, we are redirecting our customer to that in success page. If we now track to our orders, as you see, we have those products available, and 201 is just deducted from there. So this is super cool. And also here, as you see, one more order is just submitted, and in this dashboard, now normally it's not the tech guy gonna handle the product, right? There is the content management system like the product management. They're gonna handle the product, they're gonna handle the customer. So there is that a call center and other departments. So we need to keep the product as anyone can handle. So now this dashboard, whoever have the access, they can see the order number, Stripe checkout session number, ID, store ID, and get the name, customer email, and the intent, and then the product, whichever product they are. You can now from here, you can update the product, you can duplicate, you can create a more order instance. If you click on that, you're gonna also have an overview of the product. Okay, so you can now take a decision that whenever it's taking the order is properly shipped. So whatever the customer order, you're gonna have everything within your dashboard: total price, currency, amount, discount, and status. So all other things is right here. You can go through all of it. And so let's just go one payment. If you go in this Stripe, and also need to make it reload here, After reloading, we should be able to see our checkout instances, so which is the 201 we have been paid. So right now it's loaded and we can see the details here also for the payment, from where it's happened and from which device is accessing. As you see, the details, the quantity, price, amount, all things is appearing here. So this right now we are going to use one coupon here. So if we roll back to our product catalog, and here is the coupons, we created one coupon for the new year, and the coupon code especially we keep it as vary. So if we just click that vary and let's go to our page again, we are going to create another order. So this should be something more. Okay, I think enough. So let's roll back to the card. Here is 498. So 498 we need to pay, or we can keep it like 503. So let's proceed to checkout, and this time we are going to use our coupon code. So add a promotion coupon code, and this coupon code has a 25% discount, and after applying, as you see, after 25% off is 125.75. the price now is 377.25 we need to pay. So now we are going to provide our dummy card number, a valid details, CVC, and also need to provide the name and pay. And this time again, it's gonna listen to all the instances, and I'm gonna let you know how to set all of the things in your locally, as well as after the build end we are going to deploy it in Vercel, and I'm gonna show each and everything for yourself. So you can see the order confirmed. Thank you for your purchase. We are processing your order and will ship it soon. A confirmation email with your order details will be sent to your inbox shortly. All the things I'm gonna show you how you can do it. So go to the orders. So you should be able to see another orders is 377.25, not that one, this one. We can see the details. So everything is super sleek. Now there is one more things I want to showcase to you, that is you is working as a live bait. How? And I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna take a new tab here. I'm gonna open this one, and from here let's roll back to our application layer and go back to the home. And right now anything we're gonna change, it will affect the right time. As you see, the black pepper spice jar, this is the one. So from here, if we change something, it will automatically come directly. So black pepper spice pack, I'm gonna say it, not the jar but the pack, and publish. So as you see, I publish as a pack, but here is the jar. I'm not refreshing my application, right? As you see, it's automatically taking, I'm not refreshing, but it's taking the hit. And there is one more things in the arsenal, is that if you come here, there is a presentation tab here. Once you are in the presentation mode, now you can present your, like this one can create a replica over hovering here in direct one presentation mode. Like you have an employee and his duty is to update the product, right? But he doesn't know by which side this application can break. Like there is a icon, there is a, if you just make some random text here, as you see, if you click here, you can now make that one to be, so it will be that test product title. So I'm gonna make it as a product title. So after updating here, as you see the text product title, it's gonna reflect here too. So it's just give it a time. As you see the product title, test product title, now he has an idea. Even he typed that text product, it will not break because it's a one-line frame. So he can type it properly if he wants. So now you're gonna have a real-time view. Like whenever before publishing, you can access that view. You can see the product segment, and then you can go with that. If I publish, it will publish. If I unpublish it, it will be fine also. Now let's see, we want to change here the new year discount value. If we click here, now the, as you see, I'm not searching for any of the parameter from where I'm taking. I'm just directly just selecting here is selected on there. So new year discount value. So new year, let's say we can make it, we're gonna delete some of that and then we're gonna go with that. So it will be new year if discounts. Let's see it's changing or not. So we have the new year if discount, and that will also inject, as you see, new year if discount. So if you publish here, it will reflect here as well, and then it will also gonna reflect within our application premises. I'm gonna just directly inject it here, and let's go in the application. And as you see, new year if discount. So it's a real time, and still, as you see, I can select that because the draft mode is enabled, I can just quite disable the draft mode. So right now, after disabling, it will be same like my present application. So whoever have the permission to like accessing that project, they can have an overview to understand how the project structure can go through, how the project gonna look like after uploading. So there will be less mistake, because it's not about only the tech guy. Any normal guy can handle that, can focus on the design, and can make sure to have an idea how the design can really make more of sense. So these things I'm gonna showcase to you. Again, I'm saying that build gonna be really a little bit slower, because I want you to understand each and every single tech, each and every single thing. I want you to grab it simply and understandably. So you're gonna create it from this scratch, and then we're gonna do it as our own. So let's start building our application. Before building, I want to showcase you something. So this is the front face of the application. Then the stripe we are going to handle using the payment section, and then also you're going to have our Clerk, as you know, for our authentication status. We're going to handle with that. Then the Next.js that will be building with the latest feature. So everything here, it will be go through that feature available, the latest one. Then we're going to use the Zustand to use our store to create this store and manage a store within our application. We're going to use that Shadcn UI to create lots of cool UI tactic, and I'm going to let you know how you can configure that one within your application. Then here is our friend, the Sanity CMS. So we are going to create our content management using the Sanity. Also, you're going to use the motion, the framer motion, to create a motion effect in our application layer. So everything we're gonna create and do, which will be up to date till today. So feel free to go start with that boost. So to create our application, we are going to go with grab our Next.js, and as you see in that React framework for the web. So now we're gonna click on that get started, and again whenever I'm referring any of the documentation, there is a lot of things you need to go and learn, because I'm gonna just showcase you whatever I need, but for learning in a better way, you need to read and understand that. Like here, we have an intro, what is Next.js, and main features, and how to use those docs. So you should read those things, otherwise you will not learn. Now from here, we have two scenario we can choose. We can use to go with the app router, or we can also go with the page router. That's up to you, but I prefer the app router because that's the latest one. Then also there is that stable version, the canary version, and also you can choose any version you like, but I'll go with the latest stable one. And after that, as you see, you have the time to read it. Then I'll just directly go deep dive into that installation process. So now, how to set up a Next.js project? As you see the system requirements, you need to have the Node.js 18.18 or later. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close my previous terminal, and also I'm gonna close my webhook from here, as we're gonna create it right now. So there is an empty directory here, which is the build directory. I'll open my terminal. One thing you need to check, either you have the node or not. To check that, I'm gonna type that node-version. So as you see, 20.15.0 is available, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close all the instance which is right now not required. We're gonna set up later, and then we're gonna grab one by one. So now, if you doesn't have the node in your machine, you just need to go with that nodejs.org, and from here you can download that LTS version and easily you can configure. If you can do it, let me know in the comments. I will try to reach you out and help you with to configure and do all other things. And if you have any particular setup which you really don't understand, let me know also in the comments. I will try to create a separate shorts video where I can show you how that things can be done easily, and let you know too. So from here, as I have that node, so I'm good to go, and I need to copy this code and px create next app at latest. Copy and paste. Now here, as you see, if you just paste that, it's gonna ask that project name. You can just define the project name as beforehand. So I'm gonna go with that, like it will be e-commerce web YT. Enter. And after entering, it will go with some of the suggestive question. So it's gonna take the permission from you so that you will know which project and how you can combine. Our entire project, it will be written in TypeScript to keep type safe for everything. Okay, ESLint will be fine. Tailwindcss, yes, and we're gonna use that source directory. This build, no source directory. You're gonna go with the normal phase, and then the app router recommended. We want the app router and turbopack, which will help us to boost our development process, and import alias, no, and enter. And let it give it time to install. Sometimes it will take a bit of less time or more time, it depends on the network, but don't freak out. Take your coffee, take the time, and while it's installing, I want you to focus on that project structure. That's one of the most important part in the Next.js talks. Most of the people, they are not willing to come here. As you see the project structure and organization, as you see the folder and file conventions, the top level folders, and how it gonna be rendered, how gonna get the top files, you better to have and try to read the documentation. Once you are reading, you're gonna have a lot of sense that how and why we are rendering project in that sense and how it's working in that lower level. So you should have to read it properly to have a proper and valid understanding, and feel free to come here to watch the routing fundamentals, and as well as how you can getting the data fetching segment, data fetching and caching. So everything, and by default in that Next.js 15, Next.js is not caching directly, so you need to force it to cache. Beforehand it used to cache each and everything, now it's not caching. You need to tell Next.js that you want to do the caching or not. So we'll go in details for all of this. So what I recommend you to go and read those things. Okay, so let's see here, and our project is created. If we roll back to our folder here, as you see, one e-commerce YT app is created. Now from here you can directly open it within the code editor, or you can put in ls to see the file is created, and then cd e-commerce web YT, and I'm gonna make that code space dot to open it within my code editor. So that is open in my Visual Studio Code, and right here there's the dummy project here. So first I'm gonna open my terminal, and from the terminal I will take one git bash, and before explaining each and everything, I'm gonna run that npm run dev to run our project in localhost 3000. Let's open that in my directory here, localhost 3000. While it's opening, I'm gonna explain what the things we have in our, this is called the root level directory. So in the root level directory we have the root level files. So in the files we have some of the root level parameter files, and it's compiled. It's because it's super fast. Now we are having the turbo. It's not like the webpack, so it's rendered very fast. And this is the dummy page by the Next.js for the application. It's super cool, looks very simple. And now here we have the tsconfig.json, which is handling all the TypeScript configuration for our app. We have the tailwind.config.ts file. Here you will find that all the Tailwind configuration. This one may not require because we are directly injecting our app and components, so you can delete it or you can keep it, as it will not be harm for you. We have one readme file. You can have the preview to read it, how we can set up, as you see the npm run dev or yarn dev or pnpm or ban. It depends whichever package manager you are using, so it's not make that much difference. Then we have our postcss.config.mjs also having the package.json, which having all the packages installed. Right now we have the React 19, which is the RC mode. Now we may need to have to install some of the packages using the pair dependency or using the flag of the force, because the React is still in release candidate in RC, but Next.js is already released at 15.0.3. so if anything, any problem is there, we're going to resolve it together and we're going to make our build to be done in the next page. So we have that package-log.json. Here we are maintaining all the package scenario. Then we have the next config.ts file, where we are going to configure our images or other third-party domain. We're gonna just inject here. Then we have the next -anb.d.ts, and as you see mentioned here, this file should not be edited. It's the Next.js thing, don't touch it, just keep it as simple. We have .git ignore ESLint. Then we have the public directory here, where we are having the public file. This is the best one, the Node.js, the Node modules directory, the bigger one. Then we have our app. This gonna relate it, because most of the work we're gonna do within this directory, so this is very important. Then we have the .next directory for handling the Next.js running thing. Now in that app we have our page, so everything you are looking right here is coming directly from the page. If I just select all of the things and I remove and say h2 should be e-commerce website YouTube and hit enter, we should be able to see e-commerce website YouTube is there. And some of the color, if we just go back in that globals.css, if we remove all of those things and save, you see the dummy color and dummy style is just go away. We have the Fabi icon for the icon. We have the fonts directory. Later on we're going to access that because we're going to create our font as pop-ins for our application. And then we have our layout, all the important things, injecting the fonts, injecting the metadata is all our handling from this file. So this file is one of the important one. Now before going further, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a directory here which will be client. Okay, and why I'm doing that, because there will be two directory, one is for the admin, another is for the client. So instead of doing right now, we're gonna do it later, and then I'm gonna explain why we need to do that, right? So in here we will change some of the metadata. We're gonna change that and make e-commerce website for shoppers. As we change that, you're gonna see it's going to be reflecting here. Okay, as you see, it's changed e-commerce website, and also we will make that change that one, which is going to be say e-commerce website for educational purposes. Done. So we have our description, we have our title. Now after that, what we need to do, as you see, our application all are injecting from here. So we're gonna start building our application. In the root level of there, I'm gonna create one of directory, which is the components. As you see, that component's name should be matched with the component's name here. If you want to change any of the directory in the root and you want to access the CSS style, you should combine that. Okay, otherwise it will not work and you're gonna freak out on that. So right now in the components, before going further, we're gonna set up our Shadcn UI. So let's go in that Shadcn UI. Okay, ui.shadcn.com, and from the documentation we're gonna see that's the intro is there. So this is not a component library, it's a collection of reusable components that you can copy and paste into your apps. So there you need to focus, this is not a component library. Basically whenever you are using the Bootstrap, Material UI or any other library for the CSS, they have their own congested library, but it's a collection of reusable components. It's gonna create the component within your application so you can reuse it and there is no dependency on it, right? The Shadcn, it will not install anything in your package. You will not find anything named Shadcn. Okay, only the icons library is gonna using only the styling like CLSX or the Tailwind merge. It's gonna happen to increment that, you're gonna find it, but you can also change it if you want. So this library, it will not, this Shadcn, it will not install anything with the package. This is super cool and super simple for the developers, and I recommend that one for myself. Every time I am having trouble to create the design, I love to use that one, Shadcn. So let's go from there. An installation, there is support for the Next.js, Vite.js, Remix, Astro, Laravel, Gatsby, and Manual also, and its setup is coming with the TypeScript, and as you see in the type js config.json, it's just getting the configuration. So I will go with the Next.js, and after clicking create the project, which we created already, then after creating we need to run that command npx shadcn init. So I'm gonna copy that command and I'm gonna take one more terminal here, but before going there I'm gonna close all. As you see in the components, or we can remove the components also right now. We're going to remove it because it will create a components library itself. So let's see the Shadcn magic. So enter, and now what it's gonna do, it's gonna provide some of the pop-ups like which style you want to use and which color you're gonna use and variables you want or not. So that's the things it's gonna provide for me. I'm gonna go style, I'm gonna choose the New York. neutral, and yes. So hit enter. Now it gonna install, and what is saying, it looks like, so here you need to focus. Here, why you need to focus is that, again, I'm saying the React 19 is still in release candidate. So in the both way, you need to get the support. Either, like here is saying, it looks like you are using React 19. Some packages may fail to install due to peer dependency issues in NPM. So I don't want to force anything. I will go with the legacy peer dependency. So whatever the legacy scenarios that it will support. So no worries about that. It will work. So now installing those dependencies, and let's see. And some of the things which we're gonna use may not have support still for the React 19 in legacy peer dependency. That time we're gonna use to impact it within like injecting it manually, or we're gonna like install it by force. So now it's installing the dependency, and as you see, there is how would like to proceed. It's done and created one file in the lib utils. If we just go back here, okay, that you may now add components in the lib, in the utils. As you see, there is one file is created, means that one install, and in the package you're gonna see a lot of different package, which is the Lucid React icons library. It's open also the CLSX, then class variants authority, Tailwind March, Tailwind animate. So all of those things is installed. And if you just roll back to our globals.css, there is that dark and light theme modding here, so you can toggle through the mode. And also if you go in the tailwind config.ts file, this is all the style variables it used for Shadcn UI. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open a new file, which going to be new folder, which previously named as components. Okay, components, and here we want to use a button. As you see how you can use it, we just need to run that command npm Shadcn latest add button, enter the command, and it will create a button for you. Okay, either if you're not creating the components, it gonna enter, but okay, if it's supposed not to create, because by default it gonna create. As you see, it gonna render that button component to your project, so it's okay, that will be fine. Also in the components, as you see, there is a UI directory. Here we are having one button. So now this all the code you can change. There is no dependency at all. Like Shadcn is not gonna hold. Now if you want to change the variant, if you want to change the link, anything you can change right now from here. And we're gonna change a lot of things from here, so no worries, we're gonna see. So if we go in the app, we're gonna check if it's working or not. So right now we're gonna just grab one button from Shadcn UI, and we're gonna say click me, and let's see if it's working or not. As you see, it's having that click me, and here we're gonna make that also padding of 10 so that we can have a good view. As you see, a little bit design here. Now if we may have the variant, so let's have a different variant. First, let's say we're gonna have a ghost variant, and you see it's a ghost variant, and then also we can have another variant called destructive, which is a red alert, you can see. So now that's very simple to use. So as the Shadcn is set up, we're gonna get back to start spinning our other things. We're gonna create one file which will be header.tsx, by which we're gonna render our header, and that's a dummy. I'm gonna remove it from here. And right now in that header we need to combine what we're gonna have all together. But before going that, I'm gonna explore you how we're gonna face the build setup. So we're gonna create our header with logo and other parameter. Then after the very beginning, we're gonna introduce the clerk to create the authentication, and then we're gonna set our other parameter like the Sanity Studio, and to grab and fetch the data, we're gonna write the query, we're gonna update the product, we're gonna keep it as live, then we're gonna implement the payment. Why I'm explaining the scenario, if you are, doesn't matter if you are part 1, 2, 3, whichever your part you are, you know the flow. So whenever you are following, you know which part it gonna inject, like which the parameter it gonna hit. Okay, so let's go in the header. We're gonna start building our other phase. So this is our header. Okay, and we are going to inject our header directly in the layout, because we want header to be shown in all the pages. And if you want to provide that one, you need to inject that HEADER. Okay, it's not showcasing here. So let's see if we, okay, it's not coming automatically. What's wrong here? Let me see. So here we're gonna make that import header, and that will be from at should be from components and header. So what's wrong here? Let's see a bit. Okay, what is saying? It's not finding. So this is the components, that's the header, should be okay, we didn't create the file. So rafce, so that's the header file. So after not creating you need to import it before injecting that. So now we can grab the header, and the way I created rafce, so I'm gonna showcase some of the the libraries, or you can say as the extension which you can use. I'm using that also close tag to happening to let the tag automatically close at the bottom. Auto rename tag, if I by mistakenly rename it in a misspell, it gonna render in automatically in redirect. I use the code spell checker to check all the code label here. I use that code matrix. As you see, once I'm importing, I can see the file length, the depth here, so I will know if the package is really overweight or not. Then we have one.env to focus on the env template. We have that ES+7 React Redux React Native snippets. That's the one I use to create that rafce, to create a React Native functional component, and there's a lot of use on that. Please go get that extension. Then we have what I recommend you to get the image preview. If by using any dummy image, you can have the preview. Also that import cost, the similar work is doing here with that import cost layer. And then we have our material icon themes, which is really focusing on to set up that icons. As you see, I have the different layer of icons. Then that one thing is here, the ptr. Like if I type something here, if I make empty space or something, if I put Ctrl+S to save the file, it's automatically checked the setup and formatted it by default. So I'm using ptr to get the formation. Then we are using the sanity.io to just check the color combination in the grok query. Then the best thing is that Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. And if you see here, if I come back here and make the width full and background color of red, as you see how it's suggesting me that, and that's happening is because of that extension in Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. So feel free, go to install whatever you require for your application layer. Now we are going to build our application for this norm. So I'm going to remove this, which is not required right now. So in the header, we're going to have it three segment. One, it will be the image, or you can say as the logo, and another should be our input field, and another should be our the other step. Okay, so that will be our tabs. So these three things we're gonna combine all together. And before going that, what I recommend to grab my image from my file. So I'm gonna take that here. Okay, is it came? I think no. So let me grab my images. So that's just a few of the images which I'm gonna use it here, because most of the things which will be really and the backend structure, we're gonna grab directly from the Sanity. For image, we're gonna have that using that empty card image, also the loader image, and our logo, and one for the payment. And you just grab any of the images from the internet, and if you are just looking forward to extract those logo, let me know in the comments. I'm gonna just inject, publish it, and gonna forward the link to you. So now here, first we're gonna inject our logo, right? And everything we're gonna go, and instead of the div, I'm gonna keep a name as the header tag. That will be very and super simple. And here I'm gonna provide a div here, as we're gonna provide some of that max width height properties. And to let you show, I'm gonna make it that background of gray of 300, so that you can see that is the background, nothing is there, so no background available. So here right now I'm gonna grab one image directly. That image need to import from the next image, and here next /image should be, I'm gonna import my logo, should be from it should be my images and then the logo. As you see the beauty of the TypeScript, so it's just going to prompt up and focus on whatever is available here. So very less type mistake and very less type impromptu. So in the source it will be as a logo, and alt tag it will be passing the logo, so you should be able to see one logo. Now also make it as 200. I'm just gonna keep the background for instance. Now as you see, it's getting the entire weight, but this one should be injecting with the max width parameter. Put a class name, provided that max width is screen axle. and MX auto. To keep in the central, let's put a BJ red of 300 so that the background color you can see, as you see, that's hovering here. And let's make a px of 4. The padding should be provided in the 4 layer. And what it gonna happen, even you are in this smaller screen, you see there is a padding here for the horizontal padding. So right now, instead of keeping that directly here, we can use it in a component layer, as we are going to recycle that one, that max with the screen accel and MX auto and padding X in the 4. So what we can do in the components, we can create one file with the name as a container.tsx, again RFCE, to create the functional component. Now we're gonna render each and every single things that selected design here in the container. Then we're gonna wrap the container every time we want to use the same style. So right now what I'm gonna do, I can inject that one. I'm gonna just cut this one from here because I will not inject there. Let's make it bigger, as you see in the sideway, and here I'm going to put a class name. But before entering the class name, I'm going to make that, as you see in the utils, one parameter is already coming from the Shadcn as the lib, the cn, that are going to use at the clx and tw merge to combine any of the conflict is resolved for the class name properties. So we can use as the cross contradiction. We'll import the cn, and then we're going to provide some the dummy class name, and also then we can inject the class name which we are preferring. So what we're going to do, we're going to also take two separate properties going to come. One, it will be the children, one it will be the not the class, should be class name. And to define the, you can remove that one also. Now I will make that interface as the props, as is coming by the props. So the children, it will be that as the style of that React node. So that's the TypeScript typo. And for the class name, it will always not be there. Once it will be there, it will be coming as a string. And now here we can define as the props. So the props and error is go away. So now here we're gonna pass the children, it will interject the children. And remember, in the previous days, once we are using the bootstrap, we used to make that important flag to provide the priority, right? And here that important flag, it will be handled with the cn. So first priority, it's gonna provide the class name we are going to send here in this, like the props, it's gonna put as a first priority, then it's gonna inject those colors. If we go back to our header, and instead of the div, if we just roll back to our container, from the container, and also rename it, now you can see it's injected. Now here, if we make that BJ red, okay, cool, we get the background color. Now we want to change the max width. You can say max width LG. And after doing that, as you see, we get the large background color, like the large width here. So that depends on us. However, we want to reflect it, it's gonna show us the same parameter. So I think in that way it can make a lot of sense, and we can really start building the process. And for this logo, let's just provide some class name on that. So I'm going to provide a width of 24, and here I'm going to provide also a priority flag. And at the top layer of this div, here also let's provide that some of the design. The padding Y should be 3, or you can make it as 4. Just provide a little room to breathe for this application layer. And instead of gray, I'm going to make it as white. And also after that, I'm going to make one border color. So it should be border in the bottom, and border B should be gray of 400. Right now, I'm gonna keep 400. Later on, I'm gonna reduce it. So we have our logo, and after that logo, we should be injecting one from here, which we need to import also from the next /from, and that from, it will handle, like it will grab one input, which the type it will be the text, and in that name we're gonna pass the name as a query parameter, and for the placeholder it will be saying that search for products. So that will be saying here. So let's import that from. So import from, it will be from next /from. So you're gonna use that next from here, and that from by default gonna take an action. So the action we're gonna render directly whenever the action going to hit, it will redirect us to /search screen. So that's the action we're gonna dispatch directly from here. And also let's provide some of the class name. Put a class name, not the class ID, the class name. It will be width should be full, or we can make it as a flex 1, so get the entire width. And whenever we are in or we can go with the width full, or let's make flex 1. And SM scale, I think flex 1, which will be good. And for the SM screen, it should be, let's say, okay, I'm gonna keep it like that. So let's see how it's gonna say. I'm gonna make also a border just to see if anything appearing, and I'm gonna make it as a border of the block, so you will be able to see. Now you see it's taking the entire space perfectly. In the container, put a class name which is going to be a flex, and item center, justify between. So as you see, it's pushing all together a little bit far away. Gap should be 5, so it's gonna give a 5 span of the gap. And here in the tabs view, I'm gonna take a div here, the tabs going to render. So now we have our search area. So we need to, as you see, the search area only coming in that bit. And also before pulling that up, we can directly injecting here this one within that container layer. So get the container and appear everything here, so it's having a little bit of good contradiction. So right now let's roll back to header, and in the header we need to provide some classes for this one as well. Put a class name. We're gonna make that width should be full, so that you will be able to see the full width. Now this entire is getting the full width. And also in that tailwind config.ts file, we're gonna have some of the dummy color, so the color which we are going to follow through in our build purposes. So as you see, that's the colors. There's a lot of colors coming up from that Shadcn UI. You need to be careful on that, because that colors need to be appearing there too. So here we're gonna use a 5 extra color, which will be the light orange, and the value is that #FCA99B. Then we have the light blue, we have that dark blue, and the dark text and light background color. So that's the 5 color we are going to handle in our application layer. Now over here we are going to make it in a very perfect way, and we're gonna make also, as you see, the border which we are providing here. That's, I'm not gonna keep it here because the border we're gonna keep in our input field, so that once we are focusing within it, we can have an idea what's going on. So now we're gonna make that border, and the border should be gray of 200. As you see, providing a little bit space. I'm gonna make it a little bit darker. Later on I'm gonna change to make it light, just you can see it in proper way. Make a padding, okay, should be 4, and padding X should be, let's say, providing a 4, and padding Y should be 2.5, and you kind of find a gap here. And then rounded should be MD. Okay, and whenever you're gonna focus within or focus visible, and the border should be dark blue. Okay, and if we just go and make, as you see, there is the border is injecting. And also you can make that outline should be none, so outline should be none, so the extra outline, it will disappear. As you see, now we can reflect how the border it will be. We can make it as a 2, which will be 4. I think it's cool. Now we can make it as 200 also, so it's gonna be a perfect blend. Okay, I think that's perfect. So after that things, as we are having that, now if you type something, let's say enter JAWS, as you see, it's just directing us to the search with the query as the JAWS. So we will create that. If we click in that logo, it should taking us to back to the home. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wrap it with the link from the next link, and here I'm gonna paste our image, which will be href should be /home. So now if we come back here and click, it will redirect us to our home page. So after passing the home, in the tabs we're gonna have a certain parameter, and for the tabs is required, we're gonna use in a different way, because in the tab there will be 3 tabs altogether. One is for the card, one is for the order, one is for the account. Now card gonna access the product from the store, which is in gonna be a client side library, because we're gonna use the Zustand. So right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make that card as a client side library. So in the components, I'm going to take a file here, which will be card icon.tsx. Create a file, rafce, the card icon, and then I'm not going to close it. And here I'm going to import that card icon. That's it. So you will be seeing that card icon. So one, it will be card icon. Let's have a p tag which going to be for the orders, and one another p tag which going to be account. I'm going to render that. Now also in that div here, gonna make it a flex item center and put a gap of 5 so that it will be perfectly aligned together. Okay, and I think, yeah, that's much. Now we are having some of the library here, but we are also can inject one of the libraries for the React icons to grab that all of the icons perfectly. So let's inject here. You can use the Lucid icon and other parameter, that's up to you, but I also love to go with that. So what I'm gonna do, or did we need that? I think we can directly go with Lucid icon. I think that's perfect, because no need to use the multiple icons library. So we need to grab one icon named car, so we can use that, or the shopping bag icon you can use. So that's a very simple to use also. As you see, you can copy in SVG and see in action. You just need to import that, create icons and icons. That's it. So we can go through it. I think the shopping bag icon, it will be perfect. So let's go in our application. Here we need to grab one icon, so let's to grab that. We will make that like shopping bag icon from the Lucid React. And if we coming back here, as you see, one icon is available. You can change the icon, you can feel free to go any other parameter, and by default we're gonna make it as a use client flag. Okay, so that ons is the client parameter. We know later on you will understand why we use it as the use client flag, because it will be very simple to eradicate and very much easy to contradict with that. So now after that shopping bag icon, we can also make another div. In that div, a p tag will be there, and here it will be one span, gonna be passing the item value, which right now gonna be a 0 item, and after that we will say that items, and after that p tag it will be another one which gonna say as cart. Now we're gonna roll that everything in a proper way. Put a class name should be flex, item center, text should be small text, and I'm gonna make a gap of 2 in between. Gonna make a border, and the border should be gray of 200, and let's see, as you see, it's aligned properly. And let padding x should be 2, padding y should be 1, and rounded should be MD, shadow should be, let's say, MD, and whenever you're gonna hover, that shadow should be none. So right now, as you see, if we hover, the shadow is disappearing, and also you're gonna make it in a proper way. So right now, as we are having, instead of the div, we're gonna render it with the link parameter. It's because once we're gonna click on that, we're gonna href to our cart, so that it's gonna be link attached on that. And to have properly aligned that, put a class name should be flex, flex should be column. Okay, I think it's okay. Now here in that p tag, put a class name, text should be xs, so the extra small text it will be there. As you see, it's getting a little bit slower. And here on that dummy scenario, like in that span card, put a class name, font should be semi-bold. So we're gonna have a semi-bold pattern here, and also this one we can make the semi-bold. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab this entire things, the fonts parameter, we can direct or no, we don't want that one to be as bold, so we can make that one right now. Font should be semi-bold. Okay, so this is our card, and also we can align with the icon, put a class name, and the text should be dark blue. Okay, and text should be 2XL. You can go with the 2XL. I think there 2XL it will not work. There's a width of 4, height of 4. Okay, now it's defined. So provide the 8 of width and 8 of height. Okay, it's getting bigger, so I'm gonna go with a 5x5 image. Okay, 5x5 or 6x6. Okay, 6x6. If we click on the card, now the hover effect is getting really fast, which we don't want to happen to like that. So we're gonna create one effect property and we're gonna use it within our application layer. So we're gonna create it in a global layer. So as you see in the base, we're gonna create one like called hover effect. So this one going to apply. So let's add apply, and here it's going to be, let's provide a duration of 300 and easy in out, and we're gonna create that transition should be in all dependency, cursor should be pointer. So that's hover effect. We're gonna just render within this card icon properties. So this gonna affect the hover effect properties. Now if you're coming here, as you see, pretty simple and smoothly animate that. So we have our card. So the same thing I'm gonna just copy, and here in the header after that card icon I'm gonna paste that one, and instead of that shopping icon we can now render another one which is going to be, let's say, basket, shopping basket. Hit save, so that we should be able to see another one. As you see, shopping basket, and here instead of cards it's gonna direct us to the orders. So here it will be orders. Okay, cool. So one, it will be order. Now it will be, it's time to take our account parameter, whichever we want, and setting up the account. First we are going to that our friend here in the Clerk. First I'm gonna log out so that you're gonna see the process how you can inject and start with that. You need to log in with some of the parameters. You can just having the GitHub and Google. So now I'm logged in with like a different account here. So from that account I need to create this the new account. So first thing start is that to create application. So let's create an application. Need to provide the name, should be e-commerce web YT. Just gonna keep it like that, and here you're gonna get the email, Google, and also I'm gonna add the GitHub. So that's 3 parameter: Google, GitHub, and the email and others parameter it will say. So this is the preview for my application, the sign in parameter. So create the application. Now it's gonna set up each and everything, and it will let you know how you can set. You see, you are just a couple of steps. So now we can configure it with Next.js. And by the way, if you're using any other application like React, Remix, Astro, Expo, JavaScript, Tanstack, all the same setup you can follow through. And from here I need to install the dependency. So let's go over here and install that. After installing, we need to also pass those things in our .env file. I'm gonna copy that, and in the main, like on my root file, I'm gonna grab one file which will be .env, and here I'm gonna just paste my code. That's it. Okay, so that's the things I'm gonna do. I don't want you to see that secret and others. You just need to have that in .env file. That's it. That will work perfectly for you. And after having that, what else we can do? We need to create a middleware.ts file, and we need to put everything with that file. So let's create one more file which will be middleware.ts, and we're gonna pass everything here. As you see, that Clerk middleware and other things should be aligned here. And after that, now we need to wrap our provider, wrap our layout using that instances should be the Clerk provider. So let's go in our layout here in the app. That will be our layout. Here we're gonna wrap everything. So we're gonna make that with that Clerk provider. And by the way, is as we are here in that Next.js 15, we should be able to use that dynamic. So it will not render, it will not gonna hit everything, it's gonna render perfectly. So now if we come over here, I want you to make a reload. If everything is go upside down, now is the time we can set it back. So let's roll back to our header. So now we can see as we having any user, still our header is not the client side, it's the server side. So we need to call the user as server side. So as it will be in server side, I'm gonna use in asynchronous way. So const user, it should be is equal to await, and the user we're gonna get from that current user. Now we can log that user, should be console.log. If we log the user, let me open my command prompt. Now here, if we just grab the user, let's hit save, we should be able to see our user status. As you see, no user is null. So now we can define if the user is there or not, so that we can be able to showcase our things. So let's go here. Let's see. So that's the input, that's the card icon. So here, remember, the card icon is a client-side library, so it will always be popping up, but the orders and account, it gonna depends on the user. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wrap this entire thing with a parameter called Clerk, Clerk loaded. So Clerk loaded, Clerk CL, I'm just misspell the name, Clerk loaded, and here I'm gonna paste that. So first, if the Clerk is loaded, only then it gonna render. And also I'm gonna check is that if we have user, like we're gonna render within that if it's signed in, only then, not signed in, it should be signed in, SIGN signed in. So whenever the sign in, it will gonna render. So right now, if you go back to the orders, we should not be able to see the orders. Okay, let me see what's happening. Default 2, did we import different time? Okay, Clerk user, oh, that's the one. Signed in, Clerk loaded, should not be an issue. What's happening? Okay, let's see, that's the Clerk loaded, that's the sign in. Okay, what's wrong? Let me reload again. I think it should not be an issue. Okay, I'm gonna just remove that sign in parameter for right now. Okay, let's see if it's rendering. Okay, it's rendering. It's rendering. We're gonna go with that, but I'm gonna just go and check something. But before that, like, we can also just simply use that to check if we have the user, and then we want to combine these two, like this one as the Clerk use, like this, both of that, if we have the user, only then we need to render. But we're gonna keep it in a simple way. But right now we're gonna shuffle it with our user parameter, how we want to showcase the user. So if we say if we have the user, then I'm gonna render a div. If we, so it will be if there is a user, so user is available. If there is no user, then I'm gonna also render another div. So it will not be a div, I'm gonna just render through that sign in button, and where we're gonna pass a div, and in that div we're gonna pass that one account, which is going to be user. Let's say getting the user from Lucid React. So we should be able to grab one icon. As you see, user icon is available, and after that user icon we should be having another div. So another div which gonna say as welcome back, and then another p tag which going to say user dot, we're gonna pass that. This time, no, we don't have user. Yeah, why we are passing that? We are not having the user. So we're gonna say as account, and also another p tag, it should be saying us as logged in. Now remember, the similar status queue, we're gonna keep it. So either you can copy it or you can feel free to create it. So I'm gonna just copy paste that, and that one should be saying, so span tag, it will not recur right now here, should be that as account, and that should be saying as login. Okay, so that's two things is implying here to the class name. And right now what I'm gonna do, the similar effect which having here right now, I'm gonna just copy that, and let's say paste it perfectly aligned here. So now you're gonna see that parameter looks perfect. And also one more things I can do is that height 6, text should be dark blue. So now once you click on that, if we click right now, what it's gonna do, it's gonna take us to our the page which is required for the Clerk authentication, but we don't want to redirect to in a separate page. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a mode which will be as a model. So means it's gonna open up a model. If we click it right now, as you see, now we can go and click to log in with different user. Let's say to log in with that as the very first login. It will take you to in that page where you can have to set up your profile and others. If you just hit reload, it's gonna combine all together, and as you see, it's gonna redirect to your own account page, but the second loading it will not be there, so don't worry about it. Now here we need to go and grab the other properties. So first thing first, in that div we can provide that user button from the Clerk so that it's gonna render the button and you will be able to see the user status queue. As you see, that's the button is handling that properties. Now after that we're gonna render this two here again. So here that should be naming as welcome back. And here we're going to pass the name for the user, which is going to be saying that user dot full name we need to provide. Now you can see the user also. If you just see the log here, I think did we remove the log? You can just go and grab the log property that what we are just getting as the user properties. Let's hit save. And you will be able to see the user data. So you see the very big data here. So you can see the ID, you can see the password enabled or not, image URL. If you click here, you should be able to see your image also. So that's the way it's gonna contradict that. So now let's go and make it in a proper way, in a proper visionary way. So let's copy this portion, and here it not be there, and I'm gonna just copy paste it here. So we should be able to get our design in a proper way. If we logged out, you see that one is just removed. So right now we need to also forecast the order, and this one I don't know why it's not injecting properly. It's supposed to work. So the Clerk is loaded. We have the card icon, the Clerk loaded. Let's cut again and inject one more time. Should be signed in, and that one need to be Clerk. Okay, need to be import from the Clerk Next.js. I think our import was wrong, that's why it's having some error. Now as you see, the card is removed. If we signed in, just go through the procedures of logged in. I will use a different account this time, and I should be able to log in and roll back to my home screen perfectly. As you see, it's now logging in. And also if we roll back to our dashboard and specifically see the user, you see the one user is available. So let's give it a time to log in again. And now we are having a different user. And also if we go to our dashboard and hit a reload, we should be able to see two user here. Okay, I think that's a super easy to implement and super cool to go on the procedure. And one more things also, we can contradict in the card, we can define when the card should be loaded or not. So in the card we can just manually inject one thing. So it should be const means is client, and set is client should be is client, and we're gonna make that use state properties. And here we're gonna define that if is no is client, if it's not is client properties, that should be returned null. So if it's not a client set property, it will return null. So this layer it will just drop nothing. So only it will render once the client set application. As you see, is no client means it's nothing there. Now we need to set it as use client, and use effect should be as false. And in that use effect properties, we're gonna set when it going to be is client, and here within that empty dependency we're gonna just set it, let's that set is client true. So this application going to be aligned as the use client. As you see, now is available. If we just remove that check, if it's not use client, it will just render nothing. So we're gonna check if it is client or not. That just to be go in a safe zone. That's it. So now our application layer is set up. Okay, so now that one is rendered perfectly. So as you see, if you reload, our user is available, our everything looking so smooth. I think we are good to go in the next page. Now this is the time to set up our other properties, but before going there, I'm gonna love to grab my footer also, because that too is the different one. Others all things going to be rendered perfectly. So let's go footer.tsx rfce to create a footer component, and in the footer we're gonna make it a simple way. Now that is depends on you how you're gonna render, right? But for me, I'm gonna keep it a similar fashion. So because that is not my moral concern to generate this one in that norm. So what I'm gonna do in that div, I'm gonna take a simple container. So container, and that container going to having to be have one like a p tag, which is going to say copyright at, let's say copyright. I'm gonna just grab that right text property. You can just also grab the icon if you want. Copyright at 2024, put a span tag which going to be React BD, and here I'm gonna say all rights reserved. That's it. Hit save. After p tag, we're gonna also render one image here, which going to be coming from the next image, and here we're gonna make that import payment logo should be payment from at images, and that will be the payment image. And in the source going to provide that payment, and in the alternative tag should be also as the payment image. Put a class name which should be 64, and then object should be cover. Done. So we should be able to see two things here. One is the that copy text parameter, one is that image. So instead of that div, I'm going to render is as the footer tag, and here put a background color. Let's put a background should be bj, should be that light bj color, and text should be small text for all over the properties. That p tag, put a class name. Text should be gray of, let's say 500. And in that span tag, we're gonna just furbish it better. So class name text should be dark blue, and font should be semi bold. So now the text should be generate. Okay, cool. So let's go in the container, put a class name. Padding y should be 5, going to be flex item flex item center, justify should be between. So right now we are having one parameter. And also in the page, let's put a class name. Padding y should be 20. Right now gonna just keep it like that way. Later on we're gonna render in perfect properties. Now it is the time to implement our friend here from that next sanity. If we roll back to our sanity.io, here you need to just sign in to create the account properties. As you see, I am logged in. If we go in my project, I would be able to see all my available projects right now is here. So also in the documentation you're gonna learn a lot, but we're gonna go with the next sanity to click on that. And this is a tiny package which can really help you out to go and install all the dependency for the Next.js setup. And to implement that, I really recommend you to read the documentation properly. They have a GitHub homepage. You can go over there and you can also understand a lot of things, how the way it can be supported. Now from here, I'll go with the quick start. As you see in the quick start, I just need to grab that in my project. So npx sanity at latest init. Now let's go in my terminal here. So in the terminal, I'm gonna inject that one. So here in my git bash, the second one, I'm gonna enter. So now it's gonna create a sanity project. Now here I want you to focus, because the command we're gonna use it will be very important, and you need to like circulate it in a very properly. Now here you can choose either your previous existing application, or you can just go with that a new one. So I will just click at that create a new project. So, and I'm going to provide the name, which going to be e-commerce, let's say YT. That's the or e-commerce. I think e-commerce YT would be perfect. And after that, I want that default dataset. Yes, that will be fine. So now it's gonna creating that default dataset. And there is one more thing. Okay, should be a next folder. Okay, perfect. And TypeScript, of course, the entire project will be the TypeScript parameter. It looks like you are using an Next.js 15 and React 19. Okay, compatible issue we can resolve. Let's just okay. Also that studio need to yes, otherwise it will not enter that. So it will go with that right, redirect on that purpose. And now Either you can go with the blog schema, you can use the clean project. Now if you didn't create any of the project using Sanity, I prefer you to go with the blog schema. We're gonna resolve that schema properties, so you're gonna have some combination. So what I prefer, let's go with the blog schema. As we are having that e-commerce, we're gonna remove that properties which is not necessarily, so you will know how to combine and calculate all of this. So let's create with the blog schema, enter. So now as you see, it's installing that npm install is running that legacy pair dependency. So all the properties, it's just going to get that Sanity vision, that image URL, components, and the Sanity icons. As you see, the icons layer also is available. We have two library, one is the Lucid React, one is that Sanity icon, so both we can use. Just give a little bit time to install those dependency here in your application layer. Also, if you just roll back to the package, you can see in the package it's now going to implement all of those. So now you see that Sanity icons, image URL, vision, and all the properties is next Sanity is all are installed. So I think it's perfectly aligned. And here as you see, we have one .env.local. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut that entire things, and I'm gonna go in my .env file, and here I'm gonna paste it. I'm gonna remove that local file as I'm using that .env. The other ones is not necessary. You can also use that .env.local. That's not a big deal. Now here in the app, we should be able to see one studio. As you see, that's the studio we have, and all the configuration is done perfectly. And after that, for the Sanity configuration here, you see one directory here, especially for Sanity. And here we have the structure, we have the env.ts, we have here the schema types. So that's the file which going to render all the parameters and categories, block type, all things is available right here. And from the lib, we have the client, so we can use the client directly fetch from there. So in the client, we can be able to set other properties. Right now we are not going to touch it, we're going to do it once we are doing it. Then we have the image URL to render the image. We have the live option where we will set the others property. And as you see, let's see now if we go in our 3000, I'm gonna go /studio just to see if our studio is rendered or not. So you need to check it. As you see now, is compiling studio tool, so means that's the folder is just going to accessing. So that's the file it's gonna render, and that's the studio. You can go and read the documentation how those things actually working, how you can set up the combined dummy header or never or any other parameters. Is pretty simple to use. Again, I'm referring is you to go there and read more how you can access much more data layer. As you see, it's now accessing the studio, the first instance. Okay, Clerk auth was called, but Clerk isn't detect uses. So I think it's because, remember, we have one parameter here, that layout is inject with the Clerk provider. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna separate the concern, remember, which I want to do it the first layer. So I got stuck, now I will do it. So in that client layer, I'm gonna take my layout and page from here. I'm gonna directly wrap it in that client layer. So this layout and page in the client. So in the layout, I need to, as we are shuffling one step further, so let's need to add the directory here. Okay, so that's the one thing. And right now, if we just go in that particular studio, it's now out of that instance. So now also we need to provide a layout here, remember? So we will provide a dummy layout, which will be layout.tsx. And here in the layout, what kind of things we are going to combine? It should be a dummy layout, so it will be just going to grab just a simple feature, which should be const, let's say const root layout. Also, we're gonna provide some of the properties here. So first, we're gonna just inject that, which going to return, and within the return, it should be return one HTML, and here it's gonna render the body. Within the body, it will generate that children, which still is not there. We're gonna get it. So from the props, it will passing the children, and that children, it will be just as a properties of React note. So that should be body. Okay, and here that language should be en. So that's a dummy layout here. And in the layout also we can pass that what if you just go back here in that client properties on the layout, we can grab that metadata also. If we want, you can just directly pass that metadata at the top. Need to import that metadata and hit save. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just make a reload here. Let's see how it's gonna render. Okay, now the default export is not a React component in the Studio tool page. I think if we go back here, the page, okay, default layout. Okay, we need to export it. That's what we forgot. So export default should be root layout. I create it in a functional component. You can also create it in a normal way. It's just up to you. Hit reload again. I think this time it should not freak out and it's gonna provide the parameter in a perfect way. Okay, yeah, now it's reloading. First thing first, it's gonna ask you to get to load. Okay, go with the Google and I will choose. Now the account need to choose the same, so that's the account I used to create the application. I think this is the one, the default one, so I will go with that. So this account should be responsible to create the application, and also we can check it. If we go here, make just a reload, I should be able to see my project within that parameter, so which is that e-commerce YT, as you see right now here. So I believe that was it. Now it's loading, so that I should be able to see my schema here. So as you see, we have the post, we have the categories. If you click here, it should be able to render the categories property, the data. So right now we will create our own schema. That's just giving you a properties to having a try and to understand how the things can be done in that Sanity Studio. So we are going to focus to combine that schema. For right now, we're gonna create one special schema which is really important to generate, because first we want to create our banner, right? And to generate the banner, we will go in that Sanity. On that schema, we're gonna create a schema which should be, let's say, cell type dot ts. So that will be our first schema. So in the cell type schema, what's the things it going to be there? That's we need to understand first. So let's just create the parameter which it will be saying that. Let's say export. It should be export const cells type, and here we will make that define type should be define type. Need to import from the Sanity. And as a functional, we're gonna pass some object from here, and the name, either you can keep it as a cell or you can also keep it as the banner. So let's roll back here. Instead of keeping the cell, we can just make that banner type, or I think that's fine, or yeah, that's okay. So the name, it should be the cell, and also for the title, it should be the cell title, and then the type should be a document type. Should be document, and after that the icon should be that tag icon which gonna be imported from that Sanity icons. And here we need to define the fields. So here it will define as a field, it will be as an array, not the icon, should be only the icon. So we need to define the field here, what kind of field it will be there. So in the define field property, define field, the define field, here we need to pass the function. In the object we need to pass the name of the field, so it should be name, which going to be, let's say the name, it will be the title name. And here the title should be, let's say, cell title. And after that we also need to provide the type, which will be as a string type. So that's the cell which we are going to passing there. We just added one, so let's roll back how we can inject that one. As you see the index here, in the index we can just directly pass that. So it should be, let's say, cell type, and also need to import directly here. So now as you see, it gonna reload and fetch that our cell type. Forget that error, so no worries about that. It will freak out for a bit as we are just injecting our new schema here. So right now if we just roll back in our schema, okay, still is loading. Now you can see the post, categories, authors, and there is the cell. So we have our cell properties. If we click here, we should be able to see the design setup. Only we have the one single title, so we are having the title properties. Now we need to define the other field, so let's go to define that. So in the next parameter, we are going to put the name should be description, and the title, which is going to be combine that as cell description, and after that the type, which is going to be a text type, okay, as is going to be a defined field parameter. And another field, we are going to also grab that other parameter, and this one, it should be the name, which will be the badge. We want to see the discount badge, so the title should be discount badge, and after that the type should be string, and also we want to provide a description should be, it will just say make that discount badge ratio, so it will be DIS discount ratio. Then after that, we're gonna define another field which going to be having that the discount amount need to be provided there. So what I'm gonna do is that just to rendering all of that properties, it will be, I think, fine for all of you instead of writing all over again and again. So after that, we're gonna having some of the setup, which going to be the discount amount, which the name, it will be discounted amount, the title discount amount, type number, and description amount of in percentage or fixed value. We have that coupon code, then passing the coupon code, which the value as the type of a string. Then we are having that valid from, the title valid from, type is the date type, and the defined field coming valid until. So we are passing a date from valid from, and then we're grabbing that, so valid until, like which time it will be expired. And then in the defined field is just type as the date time, then is coming is active, it is active or not, title is active, type as boolean, description toggle to active, deactivate, activate or deactivate the cell, and initial value is true. By default it's just set up as the true. Then the last one, in the defined field, we want to showcase the image, so the name should be that image. And here we also define the title, so the title should be product image, and after that the type should be as an image type, and also we can render in the options, by where we can say the options, we will combine that hotspot should be true. So that's the defined field for all of this. Now after defining the field, we need to create a preview by which we can showcase is it active or not. So let's create the preview mode. In the preview, whenever we're gonna select that, the title should be the title of that overall title, and the discount amount we want to apply, so discount amount, which going to be that discount amount. And after that, we also may use that coupon code, so the coupon code need to pass that coupon code, and we will pass that is active value, and here it will render as that is active. So that's the select preview here. Then we need to prepare the value also. So in the preparation, we will grab that as a select properties as a props, and we can render that. So const, we're gonna get the title, we're gonna get that discount amount, we can get that coupon code, we can get that is active from there, and should be is equal to select. And from here, we're gonna make also that status status is active is available, then it will say that active, and if it's not active it will say inactive. And now we will return. In the return, we're gonna define that passing the title, we will make that subtitle here, and in the subtitle going on the backtick, we're gonna define in that parameter which will be discount amount, which is we're gonna pass the percentage variation percent of, then we will also showcase the code, and in the code it will render our coupon code, And after that also we can pass our status queue here, so it will be our not studio, should be status. Done. So this is the setup for our cell type. So all the cells parameter, all the details we want to showcase, it need to be injected within this parameter, and that is the field which gonna render all of those. So we can go through and click that. As it's a banner, I will make it in that we can introduce the validation rule, like every banner should have an image, so we will not let it go without having the image. How we can set that, right? We need to configure some of the parameters. So let's go in the image. So without passing any image, it will not be going through, it will not be validated. To implement that, we're gonna pass the validation, and it will take the parameter one is as a rule, and we're gonna pass that as rule dot require. So every time anyone rendering one image, that rule should be implemented. So you need to submit one image, which otherwise it will not go over that. So right now let's create a select like a cell document. So click to create a new document, and here we're gonna create the title. So for right now we're gonna make some of the test title and some of the other properties. So let's say new year if cell. Okay, and the description that I will just go through to provide some dummy data right now, because later on we can inject the property to interchange the data layer. So here let's go in that page here. Okay, client page, and here I'm gonna make a lorem of 10. Okay, lorem 10, and I'm gonna grab that. So cut, let's see here, I'm gonna pass that. I think that will be a little bit cool. Okay, so now the discount badge should be, we're gonna pass that discount badge. Discount amount should be like 15% on it. The coupon code, I think that will be, that not be the badge, should be year end. Yeah, okay, year end. And here we're gonna pass the coupon code, should be vary, and valid from, we need to select a date, which let's select today, and after that we're gonna valid till, let's go in the next year, we're gonna keep it as valid. By default is active. As you see the product image that is required, without the image you can't publish it. So to before uploading, I will select my image here. So let's choose this one and open, so it will automatically upload. That's the best thing using Sanity, that is handle the image and other properties pretty efficiently, and it's super cool. Let's publish this one. So we should be able to, as you see, the new cell if cell and the 15% off code vary and is active. If we make is deactivate, the property ratio it will be as the deactivate. As you see the inactive, we can make it is active. So right now let's go back to our application layer. We can just feel free to go in that our structure, which is the localhost 3000. Now here we will try to get the data, because as we are having the data, we should be able to generate or populate the data within our parameter, and how we can set that data to let the action to take in the person. So to start with that, I'm gonna go in my file, I'm gonna close all, and here in that Sanity directory here, as you see, I'm gonna just go and open another directory, which will be helpers. And on the helpers, I'm gonna create two files. One, it will be my query.ts, or you can say is queries, queries.ts. So there we're gonna keep all the query, and here it will be index.ts. So here we're gonna keep all the projected file, how we can grab the query, how we can take the parameter, that's where we can keep that. So right now what we're gonna do is to get all of our like the banner data, or you can say the sale data. So that's how we can grab it. And to showcase, as you see, we have one, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just add one more here, or it's a very way to, actually it's pretty way to do it to, as you see, is activate. I'm gonna just duplicate that one. Okay, So let's hit duplicate. So it should be able to create one more here, and we are going to replace the image. So let's take another image here, and I'm gonna go with this image, and also I will make it as flash cell. So that's it, and instead of that it should be 20% and it will be flush, and I think publish. So we are having two data. And how we can set the query to grab the data, as you see there is one tool called vision tool. Here we need to be exercising, and don't worry, the presentation tool we're gonna grab it later on, but right now we're gonna go slowly to understand it in a proper way. Here we can write our query, put in star mark, then the third bracket. Here we need to put the type, what kind of types it going to render, right? So it will be underscore type is equal to remember the name which we provide the cell. So it gonna render that all the properties of cell, and I'm gonna make it in order, which will be name ASC, so the name ascending. And if we just gonna grab that, as you see we are having two properties here. And see the name, that name going to be the similar name which we define in our, as you see it should be cell type. So that name going to contain the name which we are providing here, that's the name. So you need to be careful once you are injecting those names. So this is our first query which it will be there. From here I'm gonna like export const, I'm gonna make a query, cell query is equal to, so let's we need to define the query, how it can be defined that. So it will be define query, let's say define query, and within that parameter we need to inject. So I'm going to render the backtick, let's put in star mark, and then we're going to go in third bracket, let's go in the type should be equal to cell, and from that properties we need to render that cell, and after the cell we will make also that order which going to be name ASC. So the similar parameter, the way we use it, you can also copy paste that one here, it will work in the similar fashion. Now we need to create a function, and we're gonna make a function. We can make we can make export directly. So export const get cell is equal to, it should be in async way. So right now we need to make that query here. So try catch block, we're gonna render in the catch, we're gonna say if we are having any error. So make that as console.error. So this error going to be render error fetching, and that one going to be fetching that cell data. And here we're gonna pass the error, and from here we're gonna return like an empty array as we are not having any data. Now from here we're gonna grab the data, and each and every time we're gonna just inject the query as the products, so that it will be, or you can just grab it as a cell, it just depends on you. So I can pass it as cell, or you can say it as cells. I think products is better, so that it will be understand every time that the same parameter we are using. So await, and from there we're gonna make that sanity fetch, and that sanity fetch is coming from the live new. As you see, that's the parameter can handle to fetch all the data parameter, how we can inject, how we can exercise. And now before going in further, we need to configure a lot of other things here, which we're gonna do it very soon, but right now I'm gonna keep it in that way. So with config we're gonna go, later on we're gonna make the server token, we're gonna provide the browser token, we can also pass the fetch options which going to revalidate every time we're gonna render the data we're gonna inject. Or I think we can inject it right now, so that you're gonna have a better understanding. So to generate that one, let's go in our env file, because there we need to inject one more property .env. Here we need to grab one property which going to be passing that as I think a Sanity API token is there, and also two properties we need to provide. One should be Sanity API token, and another should be that Sanity API read token. So these two tokens will be responsible to get that other properties, and let's go in that our sanity.io, and from the Sanity, let's go in my dashboard here. Okay, so from the dashboard we can grab the token, and also we can grab the API read token. So both of the token we can grab from there, and the e-commerce YT here is the API. So from these properties we need to grab it. So as you see the tokens, and from here I need to generate the token. So one, it will be read token, another it will be, one is the developer token, right? So as you see the two token, API token and the read token. The developer token, it will be the API token. So it will be like, I'm going to pass the name of the developer, having the developer view. So I add the token and I just simply copy paste the token over here. Whenever you click OK, it will generate the token. So I'm going to take one more token. That one, it should be read token. So I'm going to just pass that read token. And here it will be just for viewer, only the read access. If I save and the read access, it will be okay to showcase you. So no problem at all. I'm going to copy that. And here I'm going to paste directly. So now I'm going to having a two token here. So we should be able to grab that token and let it work properly. So let's roll back to our application layer. And from that parameter, I'm going to go in that one tool here, that live. Here we can set the other value. So first, const token is equal to, it should be that process.env dot the same name we provided here. So this time we're going to pass that Sanity API read token. And from here with the the configuration, you can set it later on, or I'm going to ignore that one. From here I'm going to pass that as our client is available, total client I'm going to pass, and then from the server token should be the token here available, and also for the browser token should be our token which is available. And then from the fetch options we're gonna make that revalidate should be 0. So every time you're gonna fetch, it's gonna passing us through the new data, like the fresh data and whatever data we are requiring here. Also we can check here, if there is no token we can just pass an error here, which is going to be throw new error. So let's pass that error, and which is going to say us that missing. We can just passing that API read token. Okay, that's fine, I think. So now we should be able to grab our Sanity token, and we should be able to fetch the data directly here. Now why we are using it? Whenever we are going to fetching the data, it will not take that any revalidation, because as we skip that, but later on once we are needing that, we're going to keep it in the way we want. So from here we're going to get the data, and from the query, so query, what's wrong here, page should be the query, and that query, remember the query, the name we provide, the cell query should be our cell query. Either you can keep it here in that file itself, but I love to keep the concept outside the two properties. That's why it should be looked clean and nice. And from here we need to return, we will return that products dot data, or we can just passing that one empty array. So now let's go within our project structure. That should be the client and the page. So now that will be the moment of truth. We should be able to render the data if everything is going all right. So from here we're gonna make that const cells is equal to await. That should be get cell. As we make it await, we need to also make it async. So now as you see, still is a server side rendering. So make the log should be cells, and open the terminal. We should be able to see the data if everything going all right. So vision, as you see, we have our data ready. So right now what we need to do to create our properties where we can really exercise those things. But before doing that, we also need to generate some of the types so that it will be a type safe. As you see in the data, the property data is any, so means it's not totally type safe, right? So we need to create it in a type safe notion so that it can be really helpful, right? So what we're gonna do, if we just go in that Sanity, next Sanity, I think next Sanity, and there you can have a proper understanding how we can go and grab that type safe property. If we go in that quick start, and from there, okay, predifs, and That's the grok query. As you see, the type is script types. So sanity type gen to generate, just click it that. So we should be able to see how the sanity type gen, so the beta feature is there, but it's working perfectly in the property. So now overview using GraphQL minimal example. You need to just go within studio folder, extract the schema, and then sanity type gen generate. So I think that's it. So we can go with that. So first thing, we need to go like sanity extract the schema. So that's one thing we need to do. Then we can use the type gen generate. So you need to passing that command. Everything is installed properly previously beforehand. So I'm gonna go in my package and I'm gonna write one combination here to start, and by which it will start properly and clearly. So after that lint here, I'm gonna take another property which going to be, let's say, type gen start, or I can just simply pass the types in. So here we're gonna pass that. It will just get the command npx sanity at latest. It will grab the latest if my sanity is not installed. If it's installed, it will just directly go with that. Then it will go with the schema extract. So it will extract the schema, and I'm gonna pass that npx sanity at latest, and then I'm gonna make that to generate the type gen generate. So what it gonna do is that it gonna just automatically check if we having the sanity latest or not. If it doesn't have, it gonna install that. Then it will like extract the schema. Then it will also go through to create our type gen generate. So with that command, we should be able to generate our all the types property here. So all the event types. And how we can do that, let's say npm run, it should be type gen, and hit enter. Let's see if it's working or not. As you see, npx sanity latest schema extract and npx sanity latest type gen generate. So extracting the schema. So after extracting, we should be also able to grab one file which going to be providing that our sanity types property. So let's just providing a time to extract and generate the types. As you see, sanity types already available here, and in the type, as you see, the image pattern type and all the properties, it's just going to fetch perfectly. And geopoint, as you see, the cell type. So that's the perfect way. So one grok is enabled. If we just come over here right now, property data cell query results, so means we are totally type safe. So wherever we want to inject that one, it will be fully type safe data, and we should not be worried about anything regarding that instances. So how we can combine and check that one? So first thing first, I'm gonna remove that container right now, as I'm gonna head backwards to start the build process. So in that components, I'm gonna just create a new file which will be discount banner.tsx rafce. There we're gonna render our discount banner type, and instead of that properties, or I'm gonna remove totally this one, here we're gonna pass that as discount banner. So in the discount banner, we're gonna pass the value here, which going to get the cells is equal to should be our cells. Let's remove the console. Okay. So if we go to our discount banner type, we can provide the type here should be that cells, and that cells property is the types of that. If we just previously overseeing that, it should be a cell query result. So should be cell underscore query result. So as you see, the type error is just fully evaporated. So right now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna render one carousel. So to render the carousel, we need to go in the Shadcn UI. So should be Shadcn UI, and from there we're gonna render from the documents, or you can directly visit the components, and from the components we're gonna go and grab the carousel. And to start with the carousel, we need to run that command in our terminal. So let's run the command, and also we need to get some badge and card. So I'm gonna just grab that, which going to be say that should be the card. So let's grab the card here. Okay, let's take another get badge. or you can run a simple command to grab all together to create all the file and properties, or we can try that one. As you see, so we have npx to install the card dependency and others. Okay, there is a button, I think say yes, overwrite it, so no worries about that. So there would be a card. I think it's automatically rendered. I think so. Okay, no worries. So we should be able to have a carousel. So right now, as we have the cells, how we can inject the carousels within the parameter, it's very simple to align with that. If we go back here, we should be able to see one example how the carousel and carousel content is working. As you see, that's a pretty simple way. Feel free to explore a bit here so that you're gonna have a very better understanding. So what I'm gonna do, instead of that div, I'm gonna having directly that carousel imported here from UI carousel. And if you doesn't know where you can find, as you see in the UI, I keep the UI for that only the properties which gonna come from the Sanity, not the Sanity, from the Shadcn. Other components I'm gonna create in my components layer. So that's the way you can find all the things where is injected. So from the carousel, I'm gonna also make that carousel content. Okay, and in the carousel content, I'm gonna grab the card, and before grabbing the card, let's say just test, okay, just to see what it gonna be look alike. So I'm having a carousel, and that is only the test, and as you see, it just render indirectly. So here put a class name which should be full, and after that providing a max width. I think if we are passing that max width, we can go back to the container, right? So, or we can provide that max width screen axle, mx auto, and margin top should be 10. Or instead of margin 10, we're gonna just make that my 10, so that in both layer it's gonna provide that ratio. As you see, okay, now we need to combine that. So we are having the card, and remember we have the cells, so should be cells dot, we're gonna map to it, and here we're gonna make that as a cell parameter, and from the map we're gonna return a carousel item. On the carousel item, we're gonna just render a card which going to be coming from UI, and from the card contained, and on the card contain, we're gonna get a div, and from we're gonna take another div here, give a p tag which going to be, let's say cell dot, let's say we're gonna provide the title. Okay, just to see if it's working or not. For the key, we need to provide that cell dot id. As you see, fully type safe and it's working perfectly and smoothly. As you see, that's our carousel here. And by the way, we can also define that after that carousel content here, we can make that carousel, I think the previous and next. So carousel previous, and also we can grab that carousel next. So that too we can grab it directly, and as you will be able to see that our carousel, that too is visible. Here we can pass the property should be absolute, absolute left should be 2, and the similar pattern we're gonna pass that class name should be also absolute right should be 2. So it will be within that property. It will, as you see, is injecting at the very inside. So now we're gonna create the other properties. So first thing first, let's go to grab one badge here. So in that properties here, we're gonna grab one badge. So also let's install that. Okay, while it's installing, let's go in the pattern how we gonna make that things to be done. So in that card content, we're gonna pretty much working on that. So the class name, we're gonna make a 0 padding here so that it will be in a 0 padding ratio, and here we're gonna get two setup all together so that it gonna be aligned perfectly. So in the first div, put a flex, and it should be by default flex column, md should be flex row, and item should be always in center. And now that div here also we're gonna provide that flex 1, and the padding should be 6, and md padding x should be 12. So that's the padding ratio we are going to provide. As you see, providing a perfect padding ratio. And here we're gonna get a badge, so that badge going to be coming from that UI, and here we're gonna pass that sale dot badge, so the title it will be there, and also you're gonna pass that sale dot discounted amount, and here after that we're gonna pass that the percentage, and we're gonna say off. So how much percentage is off, it gonna focus on here. As you see, looks cool. And now it's a black variant. We're gonna pass the variant layer, so the variant should be secondary variant, and after that we can also make some class name. Margin top should be 2, MD screen margin margin bottom should be 4, and text should be dark blue, and I'm gonna make it everything as capitalize. As you see, now it should be end up okay year in cell, so the first and last is looking perfect on that ratio. So after the badge we're gonna have an h2 tag, and here we're gonna say as the sale dot title, so the title it will go on, and for the title we can be able to create one title properties if we want to, but first let's go to style a bit, put a class name, text should be 2xl, and md text should be let's say 3xl, and lg text should be 4xl. So now we're gonna see the bigger one, the 4xl right now as in the lg screen, and after that font should be bold, tracking should be tight, and also margin bottom should be 2, and MB should be 4. So now we should be able to see that perfectly aligned. So we have the title, and now let's go and click the other properties. So here, because we have the two segment here, as you see, there is the one div which is going to generate our entire docs, and there will be another div which is going to render if the cell image is available, cell.image is available, and it's gonna render one image, right? We're gonna provide not the divide but another div. Here we're gonna just grab our image property which need to be imported from next image, and in that image, in the source property, now we need to render in a very different properties. Let's import first from the next image, and here in the source we will make that URL 4, and that's directly coming here from our properties in the image, which then providing the source and is using that Sanity image URL to provide your image properties. So it will provide back our URL, and here we need to pass that sale.image, and then we'll just get the URL from there. That's it. So we should be able to get our URL, and in the outer property just make that banner image segment, and also as the image is external image, we need to provide a width of 500, and we will also get that 500 so that it will direct here the ratio 500 by 500. And after doing the same thing, as you see, that need to be configured, the host name need to be configured there. So this cdn.sanity.io need to be configured within our properties here. As you see in the root layer, if you expand all, you see the next config.ts file. Here we gonna configure this one. So after that we're gonna just render that image property here. Within that image we'll pass that remote patterns, which will be an array, and there we're gonna pass an object because it can be multiple ratio, the image or others can be multiple parameters. So the protocol which should be HTTPS, and after protocol we also need to provide the host name, which will be that cdn.sanity.io, and after that I'm gonna just reload it as is using that faster loading from that, I think the turbo pack, which should be able to generate. And if you're having or facing any error, just close the terminal and then rerun it again, it will be perfectly blend. Okay, so I think the image is right here. As you see, if we click, we should be able to see the different images. So right now it's working perfectly fine. So roll back to the banner. We need to make it in a more perfect way. And how we can do that? We will style a bit here. Put a class name which width should be full, and MD which should be 1/2, means the half width which you'll get, and height should be auto. I'm gonna make it as a relative because some absolute properties need to be provided, or I think no, not necessarily get there. We're gonna make it flex, item center, justify center, and padding Y. We're gonna keep it 2 so that it can having a little space to breathe whenever it's amplifying. Now here in that classic image, we will make that, we can also make that as object feet as cover to be aligned within the cover frame. Now here we're gonna make that height should be full, and then transition should be the transform, and the duration, once we hover we can provide an effect here that we can do. So yes, so once we hover we will make that scale of 105, let's say 105, and easy in out. We can just simply pass that hover effect. As you see, previously we have been created, and now okay, cool, but right now it's not. I think we need to little bit more duration parameter here. Transition should be only in the transform, so the duration should be, let's give it 500, and we're gonna make it easy in out. I think this time, okay, yeah, that's cool, simple. So now this is, I think, a perfectly blend and properly aligned. So right now let's go and pouring the other items which should be available here. So after the title we need to provide the description, let it p tag, and here should be cell then description. And for the description we're gonna just combine it to make it like that. Should be text should be muted foreground, and I think instead of rendering that title properties MB and MB4, we can just get rid of those properties. We can directly go with the scenario because it's a flex, so we can align that in a perfect way. Should be flex should be column, and then put a gap of 4, and I think first it will be 2 MD, gap will be 4. I think that will provide a perfect blend. Yeah, now we can check that. So this is the way, one way you can go, and if you make that one, now you can utilize that one, like you need to put a width of 32, otherwise it will just take entire space property. So that's the only the headache you need to combine. So I just show you, you can go through it, or if you don't want, you can also go through it the way it is supposed to be. It's very simple to implement and nothing that much more on that. Let's put MB4 just to go with that dignity, and first it will be MB2. Whenever it gonna hit on that MD screen should be MB4. And after description, let's go to get one more parameter which will be p tag, and here we will make that as use code, and here span tag should be cell.coupon code, and after the coupon code means after the span tag we're gonna say at 4, and then again another span tag which should be cell and that discounted amount, and after the span tag we're gonna pass the ratio as of. So that's it. So we should be able to see that, as you see, perfectly aligned. So here we're gonna make that class name MB first, it will be 2, and MB should be 4. Now we're gonna use the code, and of course you can go with to make less space here so that it can be a little bit more affiliate, so more presentable here. So right now, as you see, we can yeah, I think so. Let's put in that coupon code, we can make that class name. Font should be semi-bold, and text I'm gonna make it as a primary, and uppercase need to be provided so that the text should be a little bit darker. Okay, I think quite good. Yeah, not bad at all. And in that here, or we can make that text as without primary, you can also make that the color we are preferring. In the span tag, put a class name, and font should be, and that one also going to be as semi-bold, so we can have the percentage ratio. So use very good for 15. I think we need to also showcase the percentage value, and after that p tag we should be able to generate one button here. So it should be button. Here we will say shop now. Okay, so that's the button to combine the properties, as you see. Okay, quite good. And right now I think that's all. If we just roll back to see in the previous one, okay, we are having that. So now that's perfectly aligned. As you see, it's aligned and properly configured. So I think it's time to go and capture other properties, and to do that we can set some of the scenario which is not recurrently accessible right now. Here I'm gonna close all properties, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in our Sanity directory here, and I'm gonna just access that in that schema types, that index, because I'm gonna just sort it out what is not recurrent right now. So what I'm gonna do, as we having the category type, I'm gonna keep the category type as the category, because later on we're gonna just replace with our code parameter. So on the indexed properties, I'm gonna remove the block content which not recurrent right now. So the block content category, let's see, the block content type, we are not going to use this build author type, and also that post type not recur. So I'm just gonna remove those properties. Okay, cool, done. And after that we're gonna go in the structure layer here, and from the structure, as you see, the post and author, which I'm gonna remove, and only I'm gonna keep that category layer here. So that would be there. So divider, it will be aligned only from that permissions. So if we go in the structure, we should be able to see in the block title, we will change the title as we are having the title here. You can read it somewhere here. We can just combine as the blocked data set. So we will change that. Let's go back to the structure. As you see in the block, we will change the title from here, which should be e-commerce web app. Okay, so that's we change e-commerce web app. We have the categories, then we have our sale all together. So now we can combine how the categories can be lookalike, how that things can be structurized, and how we can really maximize the data scenario. And to do that, again in the schema types, I'm gonna access our category. So let's roll back to our category. Here in this schema, I'm going to remove that author types, remove the block content, remove that post type, and in the category type, I'm going to just fix some of it, which is category document, and title category string, and having the Slack define field. I think that's okay. I'm going to just set a preview here. So the preview should be the preview of that. If we just go to select the preview, and here I'm going to pass the title. So the title should be alongside the title, and also I'm gonna pass the description, and the the subtitle should be the description. So that will be our overall parameter. So I think we are happen to be good to go to create and surpassing the scenario. So I think here you can now configure it properly, and you can align that all together, because the next phase we are going to create and pouring our products. Again, what I'm saying, the build going to be slowly, each and every day it will be one part and another. So feel free to watch. So that's the first part where we configure everything, and the next part we are going to come back with the product, and then we're gonna come back with our payment method, and then we're gonna come back with the orders, which will be 3 to 5 days build. So take your time, start today, or you can start it tomorrow, it's up to you. So we're gonna finish that. So in this build, that's the banner, you're gonna have that. So later on we're gonna pouring our products and others all together.